And now we have audio, so that's nice. How's it going, guys? Welcome in. Those of you that are already joining us tonight, thank you for popping in so quickly. We appreciate every single one of you doing so. We are jumping back into the campaign shortly here, but first we have our giveaway. So we've got the Reckless Deck Worlds deck that we are giving away tonight in chat. And if you guys are present during our halfway point, we'll have a keyword for you guys to enter in, and that will be how you win that tonight. However, we also have another giveaway going with Reckless Deck for their entire kit of stuff, including that awesome brass coin I'm always talking about over here and banging around on stuff, along with like some prints and minis and all of their cards that they have currently, and some really cool collector's boxes and stuff like that. It's really, really cool, and we have an ad type thing. It's not really an ad, it's more of a review that I'm going to actually run for you guys right in the middle during that break. So you guys will get kind of a deeper dive into what actually comes with that full kit and what you can go ahead and win by doing giveaway.rolethis.com or hitting !reckless in the chat. So with that, also our website is back up, which I'm super pumped about. However, the merch store's not. There's an issue with our supplier on that end, and so we're still kind of working on how to get the shirts back up there. And I've decided that we aren't going to have the accessories and dice and stuff from third-party sellers on there anymore. I just didn't like the way that was working, so we're not going to do that anymore. But we are working on some really cool originals type stuff there, original physical items that we can sell that you guys can use in your D&D games. So that stuff will be coming soon, but is not yet available on our website. However, everything will be on the RoleThis.com website going forward. We're not going to split it up by different websites. So it'll be just on one website, which I'm actually pretty stoked about. We're also going to start doing some like article stuff on there, as well as I'm going to be writing out our campaign in kind of a novel type format and releasing that as I go through and get the parts done. So no real schedule on that, but it is something coming up that I want to let you guys know about because I think it's kind of cool. So hopefully you guys do as well. Anywho, that's all of the announcement type stuff right now. So we're going to switch over to everyone. We'll see if the Stream Deck wants to cooperate, which it still doesn't for some reason. So thankfully I have the other controls over here, and there we are. Microphone's all good, so we're here. Picking back up where we left off last time. Maze had been led away into the dark forest that everyone had kind of, that the party had kind of come up across, after being led away by Lemore, who did reveal eventually to be Lemore as opposed to just a random type of creature. She was led away by Lemore and came across a kind of summer solstice type party thing that was happening inside of this dark forest. And it was a joining and kind of union of centaurs and werewolves, which are commonly not friendly towards each other, but do come together this time of year and a couple of other times for these specific types of celebrations. The celebration was just that. It was a party around a large fire. However, Lemore pointed out to Maze that there were a number of humans that were tied up between a couple of trees. Their appearance was kind of beaten up a little bit, but not bloody or, like they'd been there a long time or anything of that nature. Just dirty, beat up, looked like prisoners overall. There were 5 of them there. Maze then snuck up and attempted to release them. Doing so, she intensely frightened all of them, and especially the one she accidentally cut while cutting the rope, who then proceeded to run head-on into the fire, screaming to death, and alerted everyone to the presence of something going on. Another individual rolled, unfortunately, and ran into the fight as well and was shot down by arrows, whereas the other 3 escaped, and Maze also escaped, not knowing where Lemore had disappeared to at that time. She then crept back to look over and see what was going on in the camp after this had happened, and Lemore stood up, appearing out of darkness in a different form of attire than what he normally wears. He was wearing white armor and had 2 curved short swords in his hands, ready to attack. He encouraged Maze to do so, telling her that these individuals had been tortured and that it was their duty to go in and rid the world of people that would do such a thing, or creatures that would do such a thing. They proceeded then to charge into the camp, attacking the individuals. At this same moment, Kale awoke and was greeted by a strange figure, a tall, humanoid-looking individual that had a head that was, instead of being a human head, was the skull of a large deer, in essence. Big antlers curving out, fully bleached white skull. However, it had these odd characteristics to where when he would frown, you would see the actual frown take place across this bone appearance. There was a large green fire that took place inside the camp whenever this being arrived. Kale and Coral sat and listened to him, talked with him, learned that his views on Kale's condition were a little bit different than what Kale had initially expected of this union between himself and his god Koro. They then, as they continue to talk, Cern, the creature with the deer skull head, looked around confused and disturbed. He then, mid-sentence, cut off and said he had to take care of something in the forest, that something bad was happening. He ran into the fire, which then teleported him out of the space. And as that happened, the fire began to diminish. Kale tested the fire with his hand and then proceeded to step through as well, also passing out of sight. Coral, not wanting to be left alone, jumped in following Kale. They all appeared in the same space where Maze was with Lemore, seeing a violent and vicious scene of Lemore murdering and killing, and then noticing Maze stabbing a dagger into one of the werewolves and shooting out some of her necrotic magic at another as they approached her. Then they looked forward towards the north, and there were three large human creatures, or human-ish creatures, that had stark white skin and red eyes, that then proceeded to attack the cubs, the pups of this werewolf clan. And at that moment, one was slain by Cern. The other picked up a small pup baby type individual that was trying to transform between, but not knowing how to control the transformation. She then tore in and ripped out the throat of that small pup. She threw it to the ground. Kale is looking around, seeing all of this carnage taking place. Coral has vanished from sight, completely disappearing the moment she came through the fire, seeing what was going on here. And that is where we are at this moment. So, Kale, I'll give you some form of like reaction time here. Okay. Maze, you're also in the same spot. What you are seeing is you've come out of this fire. If we imagine the fire being here, you've come out here. Maze is over here, probably the farthest away from you out of anything here. Cern is up here in front, and then Lemore is kind of between you and Cern on this range. Lemore is currently, and you don't know him as Lemore, you know this white figure, basically. Right. Elven looking, long blonde hair, kind of tied back in kind of a military style. For longer hair, as you would see, just general elven military, with brilliant, bright, gleaming armor that blood does not seem to adhere to. He is in the process, has just finished stabbing a spear through the throat of a centaur, is now jumping up, drawing out his swords again from his side, and has two werewolves bearing down on him with a centaur coming at him with another spear in the center. Cern has two of these creatures beside him, and after whatever you do is then when he will make moves as well. Maze, you are, as stated, kind of off to this side here. You currently have one werewolf that you have just slain, another that is coming at you, and then there's another centaur creature up this direction that seems to have kind of zeroed in on you but is not yet advancing on you. So, Kale.
Cool. Save the children. And then I go to join Cern.
Okay.
Against the dudes. distance with the red eyes.
Okay, so you head over that direction, and at that moment is when I'll have you roll an initiative roll. And it'll be against those two, and I'm rolling something for Coral. Roll it at advantage because it's you. Okay, perfect. Okay, and perfect. Maze, go ahead and also roll your own. You will be kind of locked in with this whole scenario here very shortly, so we'll have you go ahead and roll 2 just so we get it out of the way and can get it all written down properly in this order.
Okay.
So, Kale, where'd you come in at?
13.
13. Okay. And then we'll do CERN as well. And Maze, where did we get you in?
20.
Okay, nice.
Only big light up dice help.
Right? I told you, that's the die you got to bring. Well, that one is doing it
I know,
for
I've
you.
been leaving it on my desk.
Maze. You got, was it natural?
It was a dirty 20.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. I was going to say, if it was
like
natural, I would give you
No.
the like kind of go ahead right now, but
Not that good.
right. Perfect. And then there are those 2 creatures over there with CERN. Okay, so they're irrelevant, basically. They'll be at the bottom. And okay, interesting. I wasn't initially going to roll for all of them like this or everything like this, but there's a couple key components here that are going to take place. So that's they're like key individuals that are going to have some stuff. So Maze, sorry. Maze, we'll jump around back to you now because of your 20.
Yeah.
So what will you be doing right now?
So the werewolf coming at me, I have a crossbow with me. I would like to get that out. It's a 2-handed one, and shoot it. Try to shoot the werewolf that's coming at me.
Okay, so you've got
I see as a
boom,
threat.
boom, and then this one right here, kind of leading the charge with this centaur kind of following him. Go ahead and make your attack against it.
Okay. Oh man, why do I roll these little dice? What is it? 10.
10. 10 does not hit. So you go to shoot at it, and you fire, and you feel like it's just perfect, but then at the last second he kind of ducks to the side and pounces down off the ground, still coming towards you. Was that everything for you?
That's pretty much all I can do.
Okay. And that brings us to CERN, who is then going to turn towards another one of these white-skinned creatures. And you see him kind of bend low, and his staff almost just vanishes from his hands. And he kind of conjures this greenish flame-type energy in his hands, and then just shoots it out in front of him. And he immediately lights the female figure that had just eaten the small child. And as this happens, the flames almost seem to pass through her center, like tearing a hole in her torso. She falls over, begins to get back up, and he just kind of jumps into the air and just smashes her head into the ground. And then you are coming up now against there's one more of those creatures still present in the area. And what will you do?
All right. Well, where is CERN in relation to me, in relation to this creature?
So as you come up to it, he would be kind of coming into it as well, almost a triangle type shape.
Okay.
So like top of my fingers here is it, and then each of you are down at the bottoms where my thumbs come into my hand.
All right. So as I approach, I kind of edge a little bit more towards CERN.
Okay.
My kind of more military background and training to at least have some sort of a line where you can easily support each other.
For sure.
But I guess as we're both kind of approaching him, I'll just go ahead and take this moment to attack.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Roll to hit.
All right. right, so first attack is a 24.
That hits.
Second attack is a 22.
Also hits.
Okay.
Roll your damage for those. Anything else you may want to add or not add?
There's 8 for the first roll. 20 damage.
20 damage, okay. That's the one left there. Alrighty, they does appear to still be standing. Damaged, but still standing. This one seemed to be kind of the strongest of the three. Looked like CERN was focusing in on the two weaker ones initially, taking them out to then zero in with you on this one. You get the sense that he knew you would come with him. Just coming up and seeing him not even react in surprise at all to you being there, it's like, yeah, I left the fire up just so you could come in, kind of thing.
Nobody could resist a fight.
Right, exactly. And make a quick perception roll for me.
Whee! Natural 1.
Oh,
Okay.
super excited about that.
Then you don't see anything specific take place.
Nothing crazy is happening.
Yeah,
It's
nothing.
just, well,
Nothing remotely. You're just so zeroed in on this creature. Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff's happening.
Yeah.
You're so zeroed in on this creature in front of you that there is no. Your tunnel vision is taken over. There is nothing else that matters in this moment. You are solely focused on slaying this creature. Okay, and that brings us to the centaurs. So. One of which is face to face with this white figure in armor, which is, as Maze knows, Lemore. And it is a rather strong individual coming through, takes its spear, has this angered look on its face, jams it forward towards Lemore, and as it does, you see Lemore's sword just vanishes out of his right hand. He reaches around, grabs it, deflects it away, and just shatters it. And that brings us actually to him. And then immediately he takes just his fist and hits it in the face and breaks its neck to where its head almost comes off.
Ew.
It just snaps back loosely against its shoulders. Its legs fall limp forward in front of it. It hits the ground, slides to his feet. Lemore steps up onto it, looks at each of the werewolves, one to his left, one to his right, and you see both swords just appear in his hands again. And he kind of has this almost like laughing look in his face, like he's amused by this, like he's enjoying it. And you do notice that because you glance over kind of after your shot missing, you glance over to him to see what he's doing, and that's when you see that. In that moment, you also see Kale appearing out of nowhere, rushing towards one of these white creatures with this being alongside him that has a antler head and skull face of a deer. You briefly, for a moment, as Kale steps through the fire, see Coral jump in after him and then vanish right before your eyes into nothingness. Then it is the werewolves, and they will all go kind of in unison. So you have one on you, which is not going to be able to hit you, regardless of what his bonuses are. He has made it up to you at this point.
Okay.
Actually, they have multi-attack, so he might hit you. The first one, he comes up and is just like in so much motion that he swings at you and just kind of misses and kind of passes over you and turns back to take his second swing. And that one is a 15 to hit.
Yeah, that hit.
Okay, so he kind of passes over and is now behind you, reaches back and claws across your back. And you feel the pain of the claws digging in between your shoulder blades and just ripping open the back of your torso. And you feel the blood warm start to kind of drip down your back. And it does this die a few times. Not that one, that's a 10. Somehow the D10 got in with my D8s. Does a total of only 4 points of damage, but you do need to make a Constitution saving throw for me.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that was a 5.
Okay.
Fail.
Well,
And
plus 2.
actually,
but still,
ironically,
yeah,
I
it'll
misspoke
be
there.
7.
It was
Sorry.
the claws. I'm sorry. So it was the claws. So you don't need to make the Constitution saving throw
okay.
on that one. It's only the bite where you have to make that. But you're fine. But you did take that 4 points of damage.
4 points of damage. I would like to use Hellish Rebuke.
Okay, perfect.
So
So you have a save on that. Is that what it is?
Let's see here. Point your finger. Creature. Dex save of 14.
17.
Okay.
So it does save.
But
on
it'll
it.
take half of.
Yep.
All right. So I'm gonna do the second level, so I can
Okay.
do the 3d10, and then we'll take
Perfect.
half. So 6, 13, 14.
Okay, so as its claws dig into your back, you release this energy from your back even, and the kind of blackish purple energy kind of just shoots off onto his hand. He pulls back, kind of pushes you down with his foot, and you stand right back up and turn towards him. And that brings us to... the other two are then attacking at Lemore. Each one swinging towards the rest of them. These are the only 3 werewolves still here.
Okay.
They haven't all been killed. Many of them have, but the rest of them have just fled. Many of the children were taken away or fled. A few do still remain that were just abandoned or their parent was killed already. The centaurs as well. A group of the kind of more warrior-focused ones had led away the rest of them off in. So you saw them all kind of disperse out into the trees. Both of you did, kind of right as this was going down. So there's 2 werewolves on either side of Lemore, and one is going to jump forward and kind of grab a hold of him and actually manage to grab him. And as it does this, it kind of, you see it like, it pulls its hands back and kind of like yelps a little bit and just like readies himself. The other one, seeing that happen, is going to kind of just take a step back and like ready itself and kind of just staring him down, getting ready to potentially do some kind of attack alongside the other. Which then brings us back to Maze, who is now face to face with the werewolf that had just struck you.
I will attempt to stab with my dagger the one in front of me.
Okay.
It's just like, it's right in my range.
Absolutely. Go ahead and roll the attack on that.
That's 9. 13.
13 does hit.
Okay.
On a werewolf. Yes, does hit.
All right, so that is a 1d4. So that's a 4 plus 1, so that's 5 damage.
5 damage to that one, which had already taken 15, was it?
Half, because it was 14 total, and it should have only taken 7.
Okay. So perfect.
So because of that melee, I will activate my necrotic damage. I'm just trying to find it.
Is it your when you hit you get a
It's when my melee
thing?
hit.
Yeah.
I do the 19, because I could only do
Right.
that once, and I had to rest. So
And you do have it, and it is 19 set in stone, right? There's no saves or anything. It just happens.
should be just happened.
That's what I thought.
It's a trait. That's what it is.
That one, as you stab into, you stab into its chest, and it kind of looks down and then glares back at you. And as it does that, you release the energy into it, and you see its chest and all its veins kind of bulge and blacken across the side of its face. And it kind of like, when you pull your knife back out, and it kind of tears the skin as it comes back out, leaving this sick-looking wound. And it kind of stumbles back for a second and then rights itself. Its eyes seem to kind of waver as it's trying to focus on you at this moment. But it is still standing.
Okay. So there was touching death. That's what it was.
Okay. And that brings us to CERN, who, glancing over at you, Kale, reaches out and uses his action to rest his hand on your shoulder. And as this happens, you see from his hand this green energy that appears to have like a multitude of like leaves flowing through it, but it's all like this light energy. These leaves flow through it. You see creatures running in it as well. It's very kind of dreamscapey, almost like a Patronus type imagery type thing. And he just, poof, and all these little images just kind of shoot across to you. And you see your blade on the edges just light up green.
Green lightsaber.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But it's just right concentrated on the very edges of the blade. And as it kind of passes all the way through, you feel kind of invigorated and strengthened. And in essence, what this effect does to you gives you advantage on the attack, on your next 3 attacks, as well as gives you an extra D10 of damage for those 3 attacks.
Okay.
Yeah. So that happens, and then he kind of steps off, and you see him reach down.
Actions or actual physically attacking?
3 times that you swing your sword, in essence. Yeah. So if you did, you could spend it out over 3 turns, or you could multi-attack and use it. Well, for you, I think it's 2 times, twice right there, and then you'd have 1 more remaining.
Yeah.
And he steps away from you, grabbing 2 of the small pups that were closest to him that hadn't been grabbed by that female creature. He then disappears into the trees. And make another perception roll for me real quick.
17.
Okay, so you actually notice another one of them, you see just kind of float up into the air and run off as well. And you get the sense that was Coral following your command, that she did not in fact flee from the battle and is trying to find a way to be useful. There are still about 3 of these pup type individuals still here, and you are kind of the last bastion of defense between them now, facing off 1-to-1 with this pale-skinned, red-eyed creature that kind of just snarls at you and is now going to be hit by you potentially. So remember, advantage on 3 in a row.
Okay, so I'm going to take advantage on my first one. Well, here's hoping it's a crit instead. It was a 19.
Nice.
Okay, no, 19.
Cool,
plus
cool.
Whatever.
Yep.
25.
Definitely hits.
All right. I'm not going to swing 2 times at this guy,
Okay.
but I am going to smite him.
Perfect.
All this much. Do you need another D20?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
It's like I got a few of those.
Definitely not one of yours.
I know. They're all cursed.
I need.
Right.
Okay. So damage 11 on the base dice. Let's
Okay.
do that. Plus 5. Plus my D8s. D8s.
All D8s.
So I've got 28 damage.
28 damage. Okay, and that one had been previously damaged a little bit as well.
20.
Do what?
I took 20.
20 previously? Cool.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, excuse me.
Something that you hit? Oh, okay.
And okay, so that one does take a hefty hit there again. You see it like you've sliced across, dug a deep 3-inch depth into its shoulder. Its left arm is kind of limply hanging there at this moment, and then it's cut across the rest of its chest. But it is still standing. And if you do have anything else going,
Bonus action to cast Shield of Faith on myself.
okay, what's that specifically do?
Gives me +2 to AC.
Awesome, nice. Perfect. So that brings us to Lumore, who is facing off against the 2 werewolves. You guys kind of glancing over, not Kale because he's still so focused on this one creature, but Maze, you see this, that Lumore spins with the blades and kind of does this ducks down and then kind of twirls and spins. And as he does so, he just removes both of their heads. Kind of comes up and lands and just looks down and kind of smirks like, weaklings. His sword spins in his hand and he just kind of right down into their sheaths at his sides and begins walking towards Kale. Okay. Then that brings us to the werewolf with you is still standing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's that one. Perfect.
Yeah.
The other 2 are dead, but that one is almost. That's right. It's almost dead.
Took like 5 or no, it's
It took a
22,
significant amount because it had the you hit it once.
I stabbed with the dagger.
Yeah, you stabbed it with that. Followed up with that, but then you also had the Hellish Rebuke on it as well.
Yes, Hellish Rebuke.
So it's quite injured. Basically, damaging it again will probably do what you want. And it is its turn now. So it's going to take another swing at you. So it's going to do 1 swing and then attempt to bite at you.
Okay.
So on its first, that literally missed everything so hard that I have to re-roll it because it landed in the other's dice. The claw attack is going to be a 13 plus some stuff.
Yeah, my AC is at 12.
Okay, that's what I thought. So that does hit. Okay. And then as it does, it kind of grabs in with its claw and pulls you towards it and goes to take a bite attack at you. And actually does a lot more. So that also hits. So I'll roll the damage for that. And while I'm doing that, roll the Constitution save. You have to hit at least a 12 here.
How close you are to no saving bonuses for you.
I know. For con?
Yep.
11.
Womp, womp, womp.
I know, man. I just don't roll double digits
Well,
anymore.
you wanted this a few games ago, if you don't recall. So, I don't have the stat stuff pulled up for it right now. We'll have to get that up because it's relevant. But
so I just at least put that in notes.
You now have lycanthropy.
Lycanthropy, yeah.
So you are cursed with werewolf lycanthropy. You've also taken 8 points of damage off the bite itself, along with 8 points of damage from the claw.
Okay. Adding notes.
I don't know how the condition of lycanthropy. I don't know if that's listed in here properly. But that brings us back around to.
Oh, there it is. Conditions.
The centaur, the one remaining one that is bearing down on you, Maze. He's running towards you and has a spear kind of up above himself, and he's going to bear down. As the werewolf bites you, and you feel the kind of the venom take hold of you and kind of sink into you, you feel this kind of anxious flutter in your heart, and you get like scared for a second, and you feel that all of a sudden some energy is released from you. And the werewolf, as you then kind of focus in on what's coming in front of you and the dizzying effect of the lycanthropy takes over, the werewolf falls at your feet.
Okay.
Its mouth torn open from where it had bit into your shoulder.
And would I be conscious, or just like it was?
You're in and out right now. You're in and out right now.
So
you
like
didn't know what was happening. It's very similar to what you experienced in your dream, just on a smaller scale.
Okay.
Like I said, this one was very, very low.
Gotcha.
And it was just enough to rip its face apart, basically. And it fell dead right after that happened. And now you're looking up, kind of on one knee, as the centaur comes in with a spear up, ready to stab down into you. Okay. This one you can see has kind of this leatherwork armor across his chest. And as he's just about to strike down on you, you see 2 black arrows shoot out and crisscross through his eyes and blow out the back of his head. He then, in a last moment, kind of goes stumbling through and makes to stab down at you, but trips kind of over the top of you, stabbing into the dirt beside you, falls over, and as you kind of fade out of consciousness here, you see the figure of a dark-clothed, armored elf stepping out of the shadows, throwing back his hood. You see a long, glistening black hair, angular, thin features, stepping towards you, kind of looking about with his bow ready. And
in a delirious, Mace just goes, "Nice shot, Coral."
Yeah, absolutely.
Coral got tall.
And as we now have a new player here, Saruman and Dragonclaw as well. If you kind of just slightly pop over a little bit. There you go. Perfect. You guys are perfect. I'll have to add Dragonclaw's name in here, but Dragonclaw is the mod that you guys are so familiar with. He is now entering into our game as a permanent player for the foreseeable future. And make sure you flip your mic switch on there.
The mic switch is on, so they should be able to hear me.
Awesome. So that is fantastic. I'll get his name added in here real quickly. And as I'm doing that, it cycles back around to Kale. Because Maze, you're
I'm like
out.
kind
You're
of
actually out right now.
I complimented Coral on something she didn't do because I had no idea.
How's Vampy Boy doing?
You know, I'm using vampire
one.
stats, but I didn't necessarily ever say they were vampires. But
Hey, we got werewolves.
it
Why
is.
not?
It is.
It is Twilight right now.
Definitely looking hurt. Fairly significantly. Looks like it might take a couple more hits to actually take it out.
For him, one.
Well, yeah. I mean, a couple more. Feeling that extra strength within yourself.
Nice.
Well, I'm gonna hit it with my sword.
Perfect.
What? No way.
I have advantage. 17.
17 does hit.
Okay. I'll smite it.
Okay.
Smite or not to smite?
I just noticed I actually have made all the other name badges inside of Photoshop, so yours is going to look a little bit different, but you stand out a little bit as the new one.
11, 22, 27 damage.
Okay. That you see in that moment kind of swinging back across kind of the same mark that you had left previously, digging in now and taking almost like a full chunk out of its hip. Kind of digging up, it almost like crumples over to its side. Then, is that the end of your move? It does not kill it.
Noticing that I haven't killed it, can I quickly enough draw my dagger?
Yeah. Flavor and flare.
Yeah, because I do get multi-attack. Alright, well that's an 18 plus 6,
Definitely
so
hits.
24.
Yep.
Nice.
And this one is not enchanted or anything like that. So
Correct. Yeah.
Five.
5 points of damage.
Yep.
That'll do it. So you pull your dagger out, kind of dropping your sword down, whip the dagger out, and just right up through its chin and into its brain. And at its last moment, its eyes kind of flare up and its mouth before falling limp, and you just rip the blade out and spin it around and stab it back into its sheath. You turn to your left, and you see this white elven individual, bright gleaming armor, just walking towards you, kind of a haughty looking type of walk, just like almost a catwalk type of walk, just kind of walking towards you like he's better than you kind of thing, which instantaneously annoys you with how you are. You're just kind of like, what's this guy's deal? You look back towards him, not immediately going to attack.
Well, I am,
but
I'm very angry.
You are
There's a
aware
feeling that he's in charge here.
Yeah, but you are aware that there's something going on. But for the briefest second, when you first see him, you kind of are almost like taken aback by the whole scenario. And glancing about quickly, you notice that you appear to be alone, facing off with this individual, which does bring us around to we'll slot Anadar in here.
Anadar, yes, the elf.
Yeah, which I need to make character name badges to go along with your guys' stuff.
Yeah.
I'll work on that this week. Should have that up by next week. Anadar, what?
All right. Well, I just slayed my target.
Mm-hmm.
So what else can I? I've been able to see this entire thing going on.
Yep. So you were perched in the trees.
The entire time.
Yeah, kind of watching this whole thing.
I see that this dragonborn over here, it looks like he's going to make a big mistake. So I'm going to get over to him and kind of try to calm him down.
Okay. How will you do so?
I'm going over to him. Hey, sir.
Who are you? What is happening here?
I am a hunter. I've been here for a while.
Who's that?
Strong. I don't know. He came out of nothingness. I was here
He
hunting.
kind of does this.
I was here hunting a centaur. He came back to his clan. Then a lot more things happened. There was more people came in, all these werewolves, and then chaos broke loose. I don't know what he's here for, and I don't think we should get on his bad side.
I don't like his company.
Well, I understand that too. I don't really like the way he looks either. He's way too shiny.
Not him.
Oh.
Nice.
Well,
And in this kind of moment, Lamore gathers where you're at with him and just slowly draws out both of his blades and starts advancing towards both of you. And at that time, Maze, you're kind of coming back into consciousness now. And you begin to kind of like push yourself up. You feel the wounds on your back have kind of closed over, and the bite mark on the side of your neck is sealed up. You kind of reach a hand for it as you get up to one knee again, and you're like trying to stop the bleeding, but there is no bleeding taking place. You kind of look down at your hands, and as you kind of flex them, they seem more muscular than before, and your fingernails kind of become claws for a moment, kind of reminding you again of the nightmare you had been through.
Yeah.
And then it all kind of fades away, and you try to do it again, and it just doesn't happen. And you stand up, seeing Lamore walking towards Kale with both of his swords out, intently staring him down.
I shout, Lamore, don't! He's on our side!
I've heard enough of this Dragonborn, Mezikin. I don't think we need him any longer.
Maze will just attempt to run as far as she can in between both of them. I probably can't make it there because they are very far distance.
Well, this spot is the central point, so in essence, it would be your full movement to get up to there.
Okay.
So you actually could get there.
Yeah.
But that would kind of be
That'll be it. I'll just get there.
Okay, so you're standing between Lamore and Kale?
Yeah.
what's her deal?
Okay.
Well, besides the fact that she stabbed me.
She stabbed you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, why don't you stab her back?
Doesn't seem like I can do that right
Well, not right now. Now's not a good time.
Actually, now would probably be the ideal time
Yeah.
to just right literally in her back. You'd be able to get a perfect shot.
Like my
off.
back is right to you.
Even still have like
It's
an
just-
enchanted weapon.
Yeah, you technically, yeah, you do.
Because as I say, Lamore down, he's on our side. Basically, my back's to
TPK,
Kale,
totally
and I'm just like kind of the pleading, like, don't hurt him.
So she stabbed you, and now she's trying to save you.
I can't hear any of this because of the adrenaline.
Yeah, you're just
I'm just like
Maze feels just this kind of in her ears and just nothing, except the voice of Lamore does pierce through as he says what he said previously,
Yeah.
and now you should have stabbed him a few times, I think.
She seems complicated.
I think I shall. And he begins his kind of spin
yeah, 'cause I can't
and
stop
raises one blade up to kind of come down. As he does so, out of the bushes bursts Cern, the being that you had seen previously, but his form is transformed in some manner. He now is wearing a very natural looking kind of green and brown type of armor, leathers and then green metal across it, very ornately carved with leaves and such of that nature, kind of a like tabard coming out below with very like Oath of Ancients paladin looking human kind of look to him, except still has the same facial features, still the white deer skull, but you see now the eye sockets that previously were just empty are glowing green, and they're almost flames kind of licking out of the side of his eye sockets. As the blade starts to come down, not necessarily Maze, in this moment, you begin to feel that Lamore may just be risking you. You're right between these two, and he's swinging down this sword. And for that moment, it feels like he's swinging the sword at you. And you get this feeling you've never felt towards him of fear of this being. And as the blade begins to come down just inches from you, Kale, and Anadar, you kind of grab one of your blades out real quickly to kind of get ready to block it yourself, and this creature just tackles Lemore down. The blade swings wide and kind of leaves his hand, and you see it kind of just skitter across the ground and off a little ways into the bushes. They then begin to kind of wrestle slightly around on the ground before Lemore kind of flips him over, grabbing him by the horns and pushing him down. He jumps back, draws out his one remaining sword. At that moment, he comes down to strike at Cern. Cern then vanishes in a flash of green flames and leaves that spin around into the air. As the blade swings down, it hits nothingness. Cern then reappears. And as he looks towards, his hands kind of transform into these kind of bestial, clawed hands, and he looks forward, ready to kind of fight with Lemore. He then jumps onto him and scratches across the armor, and this is the first time any of you have seen Lemore's armor damaged. It tears into the breastplate, ripping it across with this terrible kind of grating sound, and there's this bright white light kind of flashes across it, mixed in with the green energy coming from Cern's hands and claws at this point. And after that energy comes out, a little black smoke, black mist kind of appears in front of him, kind of twirls around from those wounds. And you see that as he moves back, sword ready, kind of pushing Cern away, angry and intensely staring at him, you see that it continues, this black fume kind of continues leaking out of these wounds. The blade then shifts a little and kind of gets this tint to it. Looks more of a silver than a white now. But it's only kind of a brief moment you notice that this change has started to take place. His eyes blacken and he rushes forward, drops the sword, and as he contacts with Cern, his form transforms into this lithe, thin, long, white dragon creature. He grabs Cern and picks him up into the air. No wings on him, more of an Asian-style dragon in this appearance. Grabs him and just flies into the air with him and comes back down, slamming him into the ground. Lemore's form here, as he then stands back and kind of steps back, you still see the eyes are blackened. Around his mouth, this black energy kind of just... And he rears back as if he's going to bite down on Cern, who he's now kind of released from his grip. As he does so, he launches down, and again, the leaves and green fire flash. The eyes, kind of see him close quickly. Lemore jumping back, stares down at nothingness. There's nothing. Cern is gone. And then above Lemore, coming down now with a blade in his hand, you see Cern again stab into the back of Lemore. Lemore turns and flips, throwing Cern off, who falls and kind of skitters up against a tree. You can see now, for the first time since you've met him, he's kind of panting, out of breath. He's used a massive amount of energy in this moment. Mm-hmm. Are any of you doing anything or wanting to do anything here? Or able to? Or your characters, do your characters feel able to do anything in this moment?
I'm a little in shock, but I'm still like shuffling back.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
heading back into the edge of the forest.
Perfect.
And I'm also grabbing these two
and trying to kind of pull them back, like let's get out of here.
Yeah,
and
this
you
is,
are doing
this is
so.
our exit scene.
Are you guys going with him, or
no? I shake his goat to Lemore.
So you kind of shift her off, and you begin to kind of step forward.
Like, this is, I haven't seen this, so Mace has questions. So she's like, she doesn't care about the fight. She's just going towards him.
And Kale, anything? Are you going with Anadar?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna kind of like, okay, and you're just gonna slowly back away.
I'm gonna leave her to her fate.
Okay.
And it's out of my league.
Okay.
Right.
You know.
Perfect. And as this
Does no good.
right, as this happens and you're being kind of pulled away, you feel this resistance within you, but your mind is saying what you just said is, this is her problem. I'm out of this now. This is not my thing. Let it happen as it happens. I'm backing away. But yet then your body kind of tenses up and you start to move forward again, and then you back up, still wrestling with this feeling inside of you. Roll a d20 for me.
2.
You feel for a second like you've regained control over this feeling inside of you, and you're like, okay, I'm good. Your muscles kind of relax, and then suddenly this overwhelming feeling rips you forward out of Elandor's grasp, and you feel this pain in your back that sears through your shoulder blades. And as this moment happens, you're still trying to fight it, and the pain is kind of overwhelming. Roll a d20 with disadvantage.
14.
But you kind of grit through the pain and stand back up and take another couple steps back. So straight roll for me now.
13.
You then collapse forward again, and out of your back, just these wings tear through your clothing. If you had any armor on, it rips through the armor as well, and just kind of shings around you, and you now have these massive wings kind of out of your back, and you begin to kind of take off and go towards Lamore specifically, feeling as if you're watching this from a third person perspective.
Oh yeah, someone else is trying to.
It's what it feels like entirely. And you kind of see your hands and your arms, like the muscles kind of tense and expand. The claws in your hands kind of stick out farther from your fingers, and you come towards, like you're gonna make a strike. And this is the same moment that Maze is running towards him as well. So you're almost kind of passing over her. You are flying at this moment, and you're coming in at this, and Lamore is diving down towards Cern, who is now kind of spent in this moment. As all of that happens, the fire goes out, and then explodes, lighting the whole area in this flame of bright green, and then surrounded in purple flames as well. The green and purple swirls, lighting the whole space. It throws you off course. You kind of into a tree and kind of come back down. You feel back to yourself. The wings have faded. Your armor and clothes are still torn in the back, proving that it really did happen. And you look back at your hands, and they're back to their normal state as well. You kind of step back a little ways again into the tree, your eyes almost blinded by the light of this green and purple swirling around. And Lamore was thrown off his course, snapping at nothingness, and then turning to face the flames. You hear him, since you're so close to him. No, not you. This voice of him that you've never heard in this manner before, almost scared, but serpentine and vicious as well. You will not stop this now. They are mine. The flames kind of die down a little bit again. And all three of you roll perception checks for me.
Where's my perception?
12.
16.
Okay. Both of you hear this roar, this from the distance. And you look about and you watch as stepping out of the shadows on the other side is Morelia as herself. And you hear in the air above this. The flames are still twisting around with green and purple mixing together. The same purple that you'd seen in Morelia's eyes is what it is. That kind of reddish maroon mixed with purple spins around this flame. Coming from the sky Landing beside her is a massive green dragon, glowing in green. Steps forward. You are not supposed to be here. You will die tonight, Samael. And this dragon is 2 to 3 times the size of Lemore, taking up this whole clearing. As it landed, it knocked over some of the trees and they kind of fell and broke, but you can already see them growing back up around where this dragon's feet landed in this clearing that had been made grassless and clear from this space. Grass immediately pops up. Flowers grow and glow around where her feet are. She begins to step forward towards Lemore. And that's where we're going to take our break, because otherwise we won't get to it. So, again, we will be right back here shortly, roughly 10 minutes. While we're doing so, let me get things opened up here. We are going to run our giveaway for tonight. The giveaway will be for a Reckless Deck World set from our friends over at Reckless Deck. And if you would like to get entered into the big monthly giveaway we have going with them, you can also go to giveaway.RoleThis.com, which is just !reckless in the chat. But for tonight's deck giveaway specifically, not the big overall one, the keyword will be dragon. And dragons with an S. Dragons with an S. And it is in there. So type in dragons. Actually, shit, I spelled it wrong. My bad. Hold on. Don't type anything yet. And if you haven't typed it, there we go. Okay. So dragons. I spelled it D-A-R instead of D-R-A. Dyslexia is a blast. The Dargans. But yeah. So D-R-A-G-O-N-S. Type that in the chat, and you can have a chance at winning a Reckless Deck Worlds deck of your own to help you create wonderful and amazing worlds for yourself. So we'll be right back here. During the break, I'm going to play a review that is yet to be posted on our YouTube channel. It will go up soon within the next day or two. And it'll be going over Reckless Deck and everything that comes with it, along with the like a specific overview of what the giveaway is and how that all works. You guys can also head to recklessdeck.com, enter the code RoleThis1 at checkout, and that will give you a chance to get 15% off, actually gives you a guarantee of 15% off any purchase you make at recklessdeck.com. So keep that in mind as well. We'll be right back here to dive right back into all this intensity in about 10 minutes. So hold on. And we're back. Alrighty. So if you guys have not entered yet into the giveaway for tonight's Worlds deck from Reckless Deck, type the word dragons into the chat right now to get your entry in there. Subscribers to the channel do get a little bonus to that. So if you haven't done so yet, you can drop a Twitch Prime sub for free on us if you would be so inclined to do that, and you'll get 3 extra entries into this giveaway and 10 extra entries into the big giveaway that you can see at the link that comes up when you do !reckless. So got 3, 2, 1-ish now, the amount of time it takes me to click the button to get entered there. Nice. And rolled. Grammar Nerd. Yay. Congratulations. You have been here since the very beginning, super active in chat, so awesome to see you winning that. We will get this Reckless Deck Worlds deck over to you as soon as possible. And yeah, congratulations. So, get this all out of the way here. And I don't think I need this screen anymore either, actually. Okay, switch back over to everybody. I forgot I can't use the Stream Deck for that. Now we're back on everybody. Everybody make sure your mics are on again as well, if they aren't, just in case. It's always a thing. I don't move during the breaks, so I don't have to worry about it. But anyways, diving back into where we were in this kind of intense moment where a massive green dragon has landed and is squaring off against Lemore, this white, kind of elongated serpentine dragon. There is also the dark sorceress Morelia has stepped in, heralding in the presence of this green dragon. She stands below it, in front of it, facing off towards Lemore as well, her hands spinning in front of her. You see this purplish black energy kind of in this kind of ball between her hands as she just continues to spin. Her eyes are glowing in that same color that you've seen previously, and not vibrantly bright out there, but glowing. The flames have kind of died down as the dragon landed. She steps forward. Lemore looks up at her, enraged, completely ignoring Cern now. You've come back. And Morelia kind of steps forward. We both have. You knew I was here. That's why you've avoided Feldar. I sensed you once. Got a little too close, Samael. I've been hoping Tyrael would come back ever since. It's time that we end this. You are leading people towards the same end that my brother would have. We cannot have that. You, the veiled shadow that you are. No. And you see the kind of her eyes, and the orb of energy in her hand begins to grow even farther. And then she just kind of, instead of releasing it, stops for a second and lets it dissipate. She stands up taller, and as she stands up, you see her taking on that form again, one arm transforming, the other transforming, her blackened scales taking over the skin, her face elongated into a dragon form as well. She is slightly smaller than Lemore is. She's shorter in length as she takes on her full black dragon form, with the red and purplish undertones of her wings almost glistening in the firelight here. She stands up tall alongside of the massive green dragon, and each one of them begins to kind of slowly advance around Lemore. The footfalls of the large green dragon, growing plant life every second that her foot is on the ground. Behind Morelia, you see this smoke and shadow kind of, and they kind of hunker down. Lemore, being tricksy and wise beyond his appearance, sees what's happening, and he kind of steadies himself. You see him kind of rustle his shoulders, and he shoots forward, shrinking in size to this white, bright feature that then zips through the area. As this happens, the other two kind of jumped forward, and he comes back around, spinning around, going back to his full form, jumps onto Morelia's kind of back and into her side, and begins to bite forward into her kind of upper torso area, drawing out some blood. As this happens, there's also some shadow that comes out of that. She turns and snaps back in, holding him in the same manner, and grabs over and flips him down to the ground. There's like an earthquake happening as this is taking place. These are dragons wrestling in a clearing. Lemore's tail comes down, and right beside where you are, Maze, you kind of dodge out, feeling for your balance. You see that Cern is now kind of standing back up off to the side, and he kind of steps back a ways to kind of shield himself with one of these trees. Still now his staff back in hand, gnarled with a bright green emerald in the top of it. He's kind of leaning up against it. The large green dragon turns around. She just waits and watches as Morelia continues to wrestle with Lemore, turning and flipping. They roll through the flames, neither one of them seemingly affected in any capacity. And then, releasing each other, they kind of both step back, take off into the air, and come together, thrown down. Lemore is on his back. Morelia then rears back,
Take over, I should say.
and she rips across his chest with her claws. As she does this, he kicks back and kicks her back against where she lands on her back, slides against a tree. He then sees his advantage, jumps forward, forgetting the green dragon. As he does so, mouth opened, ready to clamp down on Morelia, the large clawed hand of the green dragon comes up and hits into him, bowling him back over. He crashes into the trees, knocking over a portion of them. Morelia then kind of stands righting herself, looking fairly injured. She then rushes forward, blowing flames of purple and black from her mouth, igniting the trees, but not burning them. Somehow, this flame is only directed at Lemore. As it hits him, you see the white of his scales turn this bright reddish color and then fade to kind of a purple, and then all the white where he was hit or not where he was hit by this flame leaves his body in this burst of white, kind of almost like if you had glitter on a piece of paper and you went like that and pulled it real quick and it just goes into the air. It's exactly like that. And Lemore is now a black dragon in appearance. He appears as a black dragon. His eyes shift into red. He growls back at Morelia, standing up. He stares her down. The green dragon steps forward. You have done this for too long. You will not lead another astray. You will not slay another of my followers. You will not continue to spread decay on this world at the behest of Guthok as you seek to supplant him. This will not happen on my watch. She steps forward, grabbing him, like actually grabbing around him, not clawing into him, grabbing him by the throat, picking him up, and just kind of squeezing on his throat. In this last moment, he kind of bursts out this flame that is white at first and then shifts to black and hits her in the face. She throws him back, and she's kind of stunned. She's off her game here. Her vision is clouded. You can see that there is almost some form of fear in her motions at this moment as she kind of rapidly kind of skitters back and forth. And Lemore, seeing this moment, seeing this opportunity, you notice his form shift into still a draconic form, but definitely black, and he draws out this wicked looking curved longsword that has jagged edges on the back and near the base of it, the pommel of which is curved around in kind of this almost stinger looking appearance. He draws it out of nothingness, black energy smoking off of it as he pulls it back and lunges forward. In this moment, he looks more dragonborn than dragon, as he is transformed into having arms and hands and legs and wings at this moment. And you see that he still, though, has the horns and his face is still elongated. He is still twice as large, if not more, than Kale, and is definitely not just a dragonborn.
Okay, that's what
and
I
he's
was about to ask.
lunging forward with this sword held out in front of him. As he is just about to make contact with this green dragon, Morelia jumps back in this wicked speed that is almost dizzying to see her come up from on her back to forward and in the air, catches between him, grabs into him, tears across his chest, bites down on his neck, and rips back, throwing his body out. It transforms back into the elven man, into the crow, tries to fly, hits the ground, turns into each animal you'd seen him take the form of. A rabbit, that thing he was just a minute ago, ferret, a squirrel, another bird, and then back into the dragon form. And he is now a black dragon, worm-like, serpentine in features. He skids across the ground, his head coming to rest near Maze. He kind of goes to push himself back up and then just collapses down. One eye kind of rests up, looking at you. And you see he almost looks sorry, but not entirely. Like, it's almost more of a sorrow of defeat as opposed to a sorrow of real sadness. You still feel this connection to him, but it also feels somewhat disconnected. Like, this moment has kind of shaken you to where what you thought you knew may not be true, but yet it's what you know, it's what you believe, and it really kind of puts your mind on its heels overall. Lamore is dying at your feet, right in front of you. You fall down to your knees in front of him. You.
This is not shaken, Kale.
Okay.
Kale. He just draws out his blade.
Okay.
Maze turns around and yells at him, "Stay back!" And then she looks at Lamore.
Listen.
Tears are just running, and just speaks only to him. "I will make this better. I can make your pain go away. I can heal you."
You get no response from him.
And she goes down to kiss him.
Okay.
And she does.
Yeah. So as
She whispers, "Goodbye, William."
So as this all happens at once, you see Morelia out of the corner of your eye. You see this clearly because you're taking in the whole scene. Transforms back into this human form. Her long black hair kind of flowing down behind her, almost ethereal in the way that it falls to her shoulders. Her clothing, her skin, her entire body undamaged. She steps forward. She begins to raise a hand towards you, Kale, but seeing that it's already too late, she doesn't do anything. She just and then pulls back.
Okay, I'm going to run up next to Maze.
You start to run forward. You're rushing out, blade coming down, and before your blade makes contact in any capacity, Maze bends forward, grabbing this dragon head and kisses it on the brow. As this happens, you both see Maze kind of convulse slightly, and from her hands and her face, every body part of hers that is contacting with this dragon, the black and energy shoots into his form. And you can see for a moment his scales turn white again, and then snap back to black. The purple and pinkish of the same energy flows out around everything. As your blade comes down, there is a burst on the ground. Your blade strikes in, hitting the neck of the dragon. As this happens, the green around the edges is blackened and fades away. You strike through and you hear this kind of sound, but it sounds a little sharper. And you pull your blade back out and there is a crack along the center of it. The ground along the space here begins to die away and blacken in this kind of circular pool. It's not blood leaking from the dragon, it's something else. Maze kind of bent over here tears running from her face, each one hitting and seeming to burn and sizzle on these dragon scales, boring a hole through it. You see her kind of hands like kind of grow and these nails stick out. Her horns grow back farther. Her back kind of convulses and these wings pop out as well, similar to yours. Her tail stays the same with the kind of angled, like heart-shaped point at the end of it. She, for this briefest moment, looks like a true demon of some kind, but then fades back down to this small tiefling in her mid-20s, just a girl still, sad at the loss of this individual that had claimed to be her friend, that she then went to potentially save and keep alive and has in fact killed. The same moment your blade impacted the dragon, her energy released through it, and both of you as one took the life of a god.
Well, he deserved it, so.
He really did. There's stuff you guys don't even know about him.
Whoa.
And your blade is, in appearance, still functional, but is definitely damaged.
Mm-hmm.
A heavy strike with it could potentially shatter it entirely at this point.
It's a good thing that I'm on my way to a forge.
Ain't it?
I've had visions.
Exactly.
This seems appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Is his blade on the ground still?
His or
Like where he
Lemore's?
stripped?
So it struck through and he pulled it back out and saw that it was shattered, and it still has almost this like the actual cracks to it have this almost kind of blackish pink energy kind of through them. As you're inspecting it, you see that and you kind of pull your hand away and just hold it out one-handed and then grab it and look at it, not necessarily wanting to touch the blade again. You then look to Maze, who's now looking up at you.
Yeah, tears are streaking. Now, a quick question for the DM. Would
Yeah.
mending fix that? Because I have the ability, it says this spell repairs a single break or tear in an object you touch. It just says such as a broken chain link, 2 halves of a broken key, a torn cloak, a leaking wineskin. As long as the break or tear is no longer than 1 foot in any dimension, you mend it, leaving no trace of former damage. It says it can't physically repair, or the spell can repair a magic item, but it won't restore magic to the item.
Right, so the short answer is no. It would have the ability to partially assist with keeping it from breaking, potentially. But the size of the blade was one of the limiting factors, along with it having a multitude of cracks through it.
Okay.
So it's almost like a lightning strike from the hilt down.
Okay.
And it just kind of has these hairline cracks all around it, with one kind of larger crack in the center.
How is that staying together?
Yeah, I was gonna try to I was just gonna try to touch it and mend it.
Then magic cracks.
Magic
Yeah.
crack? Okay.
It's kind of it's kind of more along the it's like surface level, so it's not all the way through the whole thing.
Yeah, I didn't go through
Yeah,
it
yeah.
before.
Definitely need to get that
Yeah.
to a forge.
So, Maze, you're looking up at Kale.
Just tears in her eyes still.
Just no words.
No words,
No
yeah.
I'm
response.
going to break the
Surprise.
silence and,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to put my hand on maze powder and say, well, the squirrel always sleeps on the east side of the blog. In a comforting manner. So,
Okay.
yeah.
You hear this phrase come from this dark-haired elven man who stepped out and saved you from a spear earlier. You remember this briefly, and you're like, who is this person? And they say this statement, and you feel the intention behind it, but it makes no sense, and you're just kind of, what?
Can Maze stand up and ignore these two and kind of tears in the eyes run towards the one person she actually trusts now, Marilia, and try to give her just a hug and just say, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Yes.
That's like no intention, just crying because she's just lost the person she trusted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only person she trusts right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
ignoring whatever he said,
Right,
just
right.
going to Marilia.
Right. So Maze stands up, and in this kind of like trance-like state, after looking up to Kale, looking back down to the ground, she stands up, her head kind of just bowed forward in this really defeated, almost like part of her died type of appearance. She walks towards Morelia, who meets her in front of the flames that are now died down to just a standard small bonfire. Lighting the space still in this kind of flickering purple and green energy. You meet up to Morelia, and she allows you to do so.
Yeah.
As you hug onto her, she just quietly and calmly just rests a hand back on your shoulder, just comforting. I'm so sorry. It had to be done. And that is all she says.
Was it
May's
something-
just, I didn't know he was like that. I didn't know.
Yes. If I had known he was with you sooner, this could have been taken care of a while ago.
And she lets go of Marilla and just
Okay.
kind of stands there.
By taking care of, you still mean killing him?
Yes. He named himself Lamore to those that he sought to ensnare. His true name is Samael. He is my other brother.
You choose your leaders wisely. You just kind of sheath it and just start walking away.
Which way?
Where we were headed.
Okay.
North.
Okay. So you are
I'm done.
headed back towards the road in general. As you kind of make this move, you notice the bushes as you kind of step out, kind of beside you, and you kind of instinctively reach back for your sword again after everything that just happened in front of you, and jumping out and latching onto your side is Coral.
Yeah.
She says nothing, and she just grabs onto you and just like climbs back into the spot in your back where your tabard kind of hangs out slightly, and you feel her just kind of like quietly just putting her face against your back and just silently kind of sitting there along for the ride. Just you can feel her like holding on tightly to a part of the fabric as well, just like
Right.
intensely grabbing it, and you feel her almost kind of shaking behind you.
Come on out here, Cole.
You kind of feel her like shake her head no.
It's okay. It's all done now.
She kind of peeks her head out from back and looks up at you, her bright yellowish orange eyes kind of glowing in this space. Fear is still in her face. I got him out.
I saw you do that. You did well. When we meet with the Blades, I'll see that you get knighted.
She's like looks at you in shock.
But first, we have to finish what we came here for.
Okay. She kind of steps back and not steps back, but kind of rustles back, and you feel that she kind of like is still sitting there, but you don't feel the kind of quivering anymore. Almost like more she's just like contemplative now, just sitting there along for the ride. Maze. Actually, I'll get back to you. What are you doing in this moment?
All right,
Maze
so
has
I'm
walked away
kinda-
from you, and he has gone to
I'm
walk, and
kinda
he's at the
stuck
edge of the
between,
clearing.
Like, I don't know if I should go to Dragon Lady and Demon Lady, or I should go to the
Dragon
Knightly
Man?
Dragon guy.
So many dragons.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of like scurry in between and like just yell at Maze, where we gotta go, and then I'm gonna actually like kind of catch up to Kale and be like, "Do you guys need an extra?
You're always welcome to come along.
Where are you going?"
We're headed up to what's the name?
Dwevelhelm.
What's that?
Dwevelhelm.
We're headed up to Dwevelhelm.
Oh, who is that? And I notice the goblin thing. Like,
This is cool.
And she's kind of just like staring at you,
oh,
kind of like not angrily or anything, just like curiously, just like, Who are you?
Are you a tiny orc?
No. Goblin.
She growls.
Goblin.
Goblin.
hmm
Oh. Were you there the entire time?
Well,
She shakes her head.
in and out.
Oh, okay. My name is Anadar. Nice to meet you. Anyways, actually, I haven't introduced to you either. I'm Anadar. I'm a ranger. I'm kind of lost my way for right now, and I need some other people to kind of rally with.
And as he's kind of saying this, like, Kale, you have stepped off right at the edge of the trees before he started talking, and you kind of just, like, stopped. Like, well, this guy did help, so I'll listen to whatever he has to say. And you've kind of turned back towards him. Maze, you're now on the ground
I would
sitting.
like to try to, the sword that Lemore tossed off, because that's pretty much all she'll have left of him. Then I know the one he had is gone, but the one he tossed off to the branches, I'd like to collect that.
Okay. So at this moment, as Elandar is speaking, you're kind of set down beside Morelia, just like leaning up against one of her legs. She's kind of like patting on your head, kind of trying to still comfort you.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of out of it still, just lost. And all of you kind of suddenly notice there is a massive green dragon still standing
there, yeah.
kind of relaxed now. Just kind of rested. Glowing slightly, this green color. The exact same color that you recognize from the tree in Feldar. And she is kind of resting there, still in this dragon form, not transitioning into any kind of humanoid type form. Just watching all of you as this goes down. Almost this kind of content look, as if she feels that everything is okay now, regardless of the tension that still exists in the space. She's like, it's all good. Maze, make an investigation check for me.
12 and -1, so 11.
Okay,
Is she
so
going over to look for that sword?
So you get up and you just kind of like look around on the ground, and you walk off with Elandar now talking to Kale. You kind of step off and just out of both of their sights as they're looking into each other. Morelia kind of curiously looks at you. Are you going to just pick the sword up and like put it in your belt and like be all good, or are you going to try to like just gather it up quietly if you do find it?
If I do find it, I mean, I'm not gonna hide it. I'm just gonna be like, it's all I have of them, and then keep it with me.
Okay.
Like they probably won't see it, but if they ask, I'll
make
say
a
something.
sleight of hand check for me, just out of curiosity,
Okay.
just for the narrative sense of it.
What? So it's just 11. I don't know if I add.
There should be a sleight of hand thing on
plus
there.
1, so 12.
12. Okay, so you go back over towards kind of where like Lemore's body fell, where it still is laying there. You look about for a little bit, takes you kind of the full conversation here, and you do find it. You pick it up out of one of the bushes near where CERN had been sitting, who none of you do see in this area anymore. You pick it up and you kind of just look at it. It is it's bright silver, the blade and the adornments, and not just silver in color, but actually silver. You then see that the hilt is wrapped in what actually appears to be white dragon scales, wrapped all the way around, almost like dragon leather, and it's wrapped around the handle in a spiraling pattern. Then on the back edge of it, there is the figurehead of a white raven. The crossguard is in the shape of wings. You pick it up and you just kind of stare at it, almost transfixed by the beauty of it. And for, like, you feel this connection with Lemore from it. but it also feels different. Like there's something about this that doesn't add up with him even having it. The blade that he had, a blade that he carried, but you feel this energy on it that now, knowing his true form, it doesn't match up. You take it and you kind of try to find a way to put it in your like belt and get it to just affix there. And as you're kind of doing this, Elandor turns and begins to introduce himself to you at a distance as well.
Yeah. Hello, I see you're messing with that dragon's blade.
He wasn't a dragon. To me.
He took a form of one.
And then she shows, like, kind of just shows the raven.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he was to me. Was a bird who talked to me, who helped me. This is all I want to remember him as. Not that. As she, like, points at the dragon.
Okay.
And Maze will just slowly walk towards him.
With a sword.
So he's not, like, shouting across the way. I'm just kind of, like, just walking, looking at the blade.
Like he's still in a daze.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As you say that and kind of present the sword, Morelia is like, "Let me see that, Mezikine."
And she'll hand it. Like she's just like, she's like,
Yeah.
Here.
She gently picks it up right below where the crossguard is, holds it up, and runs one hand kind of down the back edge of it. Did not think I would see this again.
Isn't it your brother's?
No.
Maze will say, "This is the first I've ever seen him use a weapon. And all my years that I've known him."
So are you saying this was stolen?
Yes. I hope it was only stolen. She hands it back to Maze.
Okay.
It will serve you well. Maybe, with luck, you'll end up meeting the one who is truly meant to carry it.
Do you know who that is? I feel I should at least give this back because I have nothing else to do.
I do. He was a good friend of mine. An icy warrior from up north in the mountains. I've not seen him for some time. Some time indeed.
Isn't that where you said you were going? Up north?
Oh, I'm at the edge of the clearing.
Oh.
I'm even
I will make sure
possibly
this gets back to him.
like embarking
Okay.
along the road.
Yeah, you turn back to address Kale,
And he's gone.
and as you do, you see that he has turned his back to the situation and is just walking off again.
Oh.
He's kind of there's not much of a path here. There is some path. It is very dark under the boughs of the trees once you do step away from the clearing. There's a full moon and there's a fire lit, but the trees are so enclosed and encased here that it does rapidly become dark. So you'll need to deal with that at some point if you do continue on this path. But initially, you make your way just fine for the first 100 feet or so into the trees. And so yeah, you turn back, you see Kale leaving.
Just leaving.
I get out a torch, light it up.
Mm-hmm.
Maze,
Yes.
are you a companion of Kale? Are you guys going to the same place?
We were, but probably not anymore. Ever since he's changed since Coral came into his life. We were getting along, and
That's the little orc thing, right?
yeah,
Oh.
she's a sneaky one. But ever since she came into his life, he's changed. And I thought we were friends, and he's become cold and distant, just like everyone else. But we are going the same direction.
Well,
I need to get this blade back to who it belongs to.
he just lit a torch over there so we can find him real easily.
I don't need no torch.
I don't either.
True. Also true, actually.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
No.
Torches? We don't need no torches.
Elves.
And I'll
Let's walk a while,
Yeah.
and I'll kind of lead her, and we'll stay back from Kale. 100 feet or whatnot, and just
There's
follow
the
that
same
torchlight.
Okay. As you guys start to walk away, Morelia kind of says to Maze, "Be careful, but I think you should follow him. He may need you soon."
You've always been wise, and you know more than what I could ever possibly dream of knowing. I will listen.
She looks up at the green dragon. "Tyrael has returned. I will now be available for you if you need me, as we continue to cleanse this space beneath the mountains. If you need our assistance, just call out." And she hands you a little necklace. It's got a black cord to it, and it kind of comes down and has this like kind of wire wrapped purplish red like garnet type of gem. It's very rough cut, but yet as you kind of hold it up, it still reflects and refracts light a little bit. "And don't go dying to dragons again."
I seem to make a habit of that. And the old necklace she had that like was Lemore's symbol,
It's gone.
she rips off.
Yep, it's already gone.
Oh, it's already
You go
gone.
to reach
Okay.
for it, and it's gone.
Okay.
You don't find it.
Because she was
You
just
kind of
gonna like throw it away.
And you look down at it, and it's gone. Your intention, though, is kind of, you see that
'Cause she
Morelia has
does-
noted it.
Right.
She's like, she smiles.
So she puts that one on.
And as that happens, the two dragons, Tyrael now named, stands up, and jumps into the sky. And as her wings flap, the fire goes out, and the last bit of light, you see the body of Lemore turn to smoke and fade away. The spot where his body fell, nothing is growing there. But everywhere else in this clearing that had been packed down to dirt, there is now grass and flowers all growing in the space.
Maze walks over, reaches in her bag, and dumps out all the leaves.
Okay.
Where Lemore just died.
Yeah.
All the
Pours
leaves.
all leaves there.
Of her leaves.
Yep.
All of them.
Wow.
And as the green dragon takes off, you see Morelia kind of step back and just jump into the air, kind of still facing you, and lightly starts to float. Then the wings of her dragon form burst out, still retaining the humanoid figure. You get the sense that she may prefer that. She then spins in the air, almost looking like this angelic figure with dragon wings. You get this weird kind of sense of like, this shouldn't seem angelic, but it does. And she flies off and comes about directly below Tyrael, matching pace with her and following as a shadow off into the night. And that's where we'll end tonight. I can't imagine a better spot to end.
I know.
There was a few other things we could have done there, but if we start those things, we'll go forever. So we're going to go ahead and close
That'll be
things
nice.
off there, and we'll pick up at this moment next week. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate every single one of you. Definitely don't forget to go check out Reckless Deck. You can use that RoleThis1 code to get 15% off anything at recklessdeck.com. And get entered in at giveaway.rollthis.com to have a chance at winning that whole big bundle of stuff from them. We appreciate you guys again tuning in here, especially those of you that hung out the entire time and got to experience all of that with us. We love sharing our game with you. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next week.
Yay.